Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. PlainGuy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, it's gonna be a day, that's for sure.
It's gonna be a day. It's gonna be an episode.
Yeah.
Before we get any farther into this episode, I know I usually go on my rant about where to find us and everything else. That is irrelevant today. I'd like to take this moment to warn anybody that is going to listen to this episode that it's a tough one to listen to. If you are sensitive or any sort of PTSD related to operators, close calls, operators being hit or operators being killed, we warn you in advance before listening through.
Mm-hmm.
On today's episode, we are joined by the mother of an operator who was hit and killed on the 417 in Ottawa on January 17th, 2022. Phillip Smith was 33 years old at the time, and he was removing a vehicle from a ditch on an off-ramp after a heavy snowfall in the city of Ottawa. Phillip was struck and killed by a snowplow while doing his job that day. His mother, Trina Smith, was nice enough to take the time and sit down with us and tell us about who Phillip was as a person, what his hobbies were, what kind of kid he was, and also what happened the day of his accident. The towing community came up big in supporting this family at the time of the accident, and for that, the family is grateful. Their GoFundMe raised just under $30,000. Neither of us can possibly relate or understand or even begin to try and understand what Trina and this family has gone through.
I can only imagine what the three kids are going through.
Phillip was a father of three young children, right? Gabriel, Aurora, and Axel. This episode is our biggest nightmare come true, and something that we put into the back of our minds and that I get goosebumps even talking about in this intro. So without further ado, we're not going to hold it up. We are going to bring you Trina Smith, the mother of one of our own, who unfortunately lost his life January 17th, 2022. It's worth noting that Phillip's birthday would be October 9th, coming up right as this episode came out. So take a listen, be forewarned, and spread the Slow Down Move Over awareness so that we can stop doing episodes like this. Phillip was born, was it 88 or 89?
88. October
88.
9th, 1988.
Okay, I did get that right. I was pretty sure he was a year older than I am. And the other thing we've seen, so while we were doing a bit of research and going through the web and that, we've seen the GoFundMe page. Is that something that is still active?
I think it is.
Okay, because we'd like to at the same time take the opportunity to promote it.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure all the stories you hear about different GoFundMes and everything. So I wanted to make sure everything was on the up and up on it before we promote it. I wanted to make sure everything was good with that.
The GoFundMe helped our family a lot.
No
doubt. Everything's taken care of now and everything like that. So, I feel like it'd be wrong to accept anything else.
Okay. If you want to include it.
I feel like it could go to help another family.
So tell me a little bit, Trina. Phillip growing up. What was Phillip like growing up? Like, was he a troublemaker? Was he a smartass? Was he what kind of kid was he?
He was a smartass, but he was very intelligent. And he's just hands-on. I took auto mechanics and welding and all that stuff in high school, and my husband at the time, he was into that stuff too. So Phillip learned about auto body mechanics, and he was great with it. He always wanted to own his own shop. He loved dirt biking, skateboarding, quadding, anything with motors. He was all over it.
Pretty good kid. Didn't get in a lot of trouble in school and everything.
No,
No.
no. None of my kids got in trouble.
You're doing
Got
something
lucky
right
that
now.
way.
My mom missed somewhere because I got in all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
Well, there might have been a time or two that I didn't know about, but
Can't say if you got in trouble if mama doesn't know about it.
Kids don't tell you anything till like 20 years later. After all, they're all grown up, right? So
once they can't get in trouble anymore, right?
Right.
So like I said, he had the dirt bikes. He was hands-on, so he enjoyed working on different things. And obviously, like I said, between you and your husband at the time, he had a great surrounding like that. You guys gave him, like, he had everything through you guys to do all that, right? Like,
yeah.
That's awesome.
As he got older, he worked on dirt bikes at some, people's shops that he knew, and he actually was asked to go to Florida to work on some motorcycles, but he wasn't old enough yet. I didn't want to let him out of the house at 17 years old.
I had to go down to Florida halfway across the country and raise a little hell.
Yeah.
So when did he get into the towing industry? Like, at what point did he start to get involved with that? Like, at what age was it?
About 5 or 6 years ago, he ran into I don't know if you know Mike Dean.
No.
Mike's Automotive in Cortland.
Okay.
So they were having a fair, and he started talking to Mike, and he got right into wanting to drive the tow trucks. So Mike gave him the chance at the fair, and it just continued on to there. Then he started working for Bidwell Towing, and then he went to a tire place and kind of drove tow truck there, and then he went out to Ottawa and started driving tow truck out there.
So it was something, once he got into it, he kind of, and I think a lot of us are suckers for that.
Oh yeah.
Right? I was the same way. I started doing it kind of, I was a little part-time, talked to some guys that were doing it. It seemed fun. Let's go out and do it. 10 years later, I'm still doing it. G was the same thing. He actually reached out to me about a company I was working for at the time, if we were looking for operators, and he came down. We had about an hour and a half conversation out in the parking lot and started up the next day or within a week or two, and he's been at it for 8 years now. It's funny how people can get into this wild.
Yeah, and you just get hooked, literally.
Yeah, literally.
Yep. Oh yeah. There was so many times Phil called me and say, "Mom, I'm so tired and I'm so cold," and I'm going. And he goes, "My feet are freezing." I'm going, "Well, put more socks on." Like I said, "Don't you have like more heaters in those boots yet?" kind of thing. And he's going, "No." But yeah, he called me up and he was always so cold and he was tired and he was working his butt off, and I was proud of him.
Yeah.
Still am.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's something that, he sounds like a guy that was very involved in the work and very passionate about the work, because I think you have to be.
Yeah, and
right?
he was a helper. There was lots of times, the garbage pickup, the once a year junk everybody throws out. Phillip would see old lawnmowers and stuff, and he'd talk to the people and ask if he minded if he took the lawnmower. And the lady said, "Well, my husband just passed away, and I'm just going to go buy a new one because I don't know how to fix this one." So Phil took it home and fixed it, and he brought it to her and said, "Now you don't have to buy a new one. All I needed was a spark plug." But that's the kind of person Phillip was. He was always wanting to help somebody do something. And a friend of mine, she needed tires for her van. So Phillip went to Woodstock, the scrapyard, and didn't tell her. He just showed up with tires. Said, "Here you go." kind of stuff. And he was always
And
willing to help somebody.
Yeah.
well, and that makes you proud as a parent, right? That tells you
yeah.
you did it right.
And the towing industry is a good outlook for that
Yeah.
kind of character trait of helping people and being a good person.
Exactly.
I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't take into account whenever they think of tow truck drivers or tow truck operators, is that at the end of the day, that's all we do all day is try and help people. Yes, we do it at a fee. There's a
Yeah.
cost involved to that, but at the same time, trust me, we could be doing other things,
Oh,
right?
I
Like
understand. Yeah.
you enjoy helping people, and if that's the type of personality that he had, then I'm sure it was it was fulfilling for him as well.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was. And, he was proud of himself, and he just wanted his kids to see that he worked hard so he could provide for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, the hard work, obviously, he got his hard work ethic from you, and from his father, and then he wants to show that on to futures and all that. So the nice side is there is something, there's something for the kids to look back at and go, like, you know what, they yes, it's only going to be in photos and stories and everything, but at the same time, they'll know that the character of the man that their father is.
This is true.
So there's
It
always the
just,
positive.
they're so young still, right? So
That's what's hard, because and I mean, you can stop me if we don't get into it, but with the 3 children, Gabriel, Aurora, and Axel, she would have been pregnant for Axel at the time.
it was him and his first wife split, so it was with someone else. But yeah. So he just turned 2 on Father's Day, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, you sent me the photos. I won't share them on the show for any
Okay.
of our listeners, because they're it's kids.
Yeah.
The kids can stay out of it, but at the same time, they seem like awesome, cute kids that seem very happy. Considering everything. Again, they're very young to remember.
Yeah, his oldest is going through a real rough time.
Yeah.
Well, you figure he's 8, and that's
exactly.
the time a son needs his father, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. There's no easy way to say that what's coming is going to get easier for any of the kids. But at the same time,
even for me, I'm never going to be the same. I already know this, and I'm never going to forget it. And people say, time makes it easier. Well, I'm here to tell you it doesn't.
No, again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I can understand, but I can't even begin to imagine.
No.
Well, I hope you never have to.
I hope so as well. Yeah. I do hope so as well. Trina, what is it like? What do you feel comfortable? Like, what can you tell us of that day, if you're okay with talking about it?
I can tell you some stuff, but honestly, I don't have any police reports. I don't have any. I even tried to get stuff from Freedom of Information Act, and because everything's still being investigated, nobody has anything. So all I can tell you is January 17th, 2022, around 12:20 in the afternoon, there was a blizzard, and Phillip was towing somebody out of a ditch, and he had all his lights and beacons on. This I do know. Everything was proven that he did everything right. So a snowplow went by, and then another one went by and put his wing out and hit Phillip and killed him instantly. There was a guy with a dash cam behind. So yes, I do have the dash cam, and it doesn't really show, thank God. But yeah, I've seen it, and I could see the lights and beacons and everything on. So I know my son did everything right. But that's about all I know. I wish I knew more, but I don't. And it does drive me crazy because, it's been a year and almost 10 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, as the investigation, whatever they come up with, wraps up, whatever it is that happens, you can get that closure and that information, right? Because it's, I don't know if it would help or not. But I mean, just the ability to be able to have it and make that decision for yourself, if it's something that would help you, I think would be a huge benefit,
I'm
right?
a need to know kind of person, so
Mm,
it's hard because I want to know, but I don't want to know all at the same time.
yeah, I think anyone listening can kind of understand that, at least the best that they can do it. So yeah, and we talked about that a bit on the phone, and I know when we had the moment of silence at the PTAO tow show, that was the thing that stuck with me the most from that, is that we accept when we're on the side of the roads that there's an inherent risk, right? And
Yeah,
we know the general public is the um isn't paying attention, isn't all of those things. Like it's an inherent risk, it is, and we try as hard as we can to raise awareness and to make sure that we can do everything that we can do to protect ourselves, and there's still things that are going to go wrong.
oh yeah, definitely. And you know what? If I can save one family and have someone just listen, to slow down, move over, it is so important. I don't want to see this happen to anyone else.
No, for sure. And I do believe the industry is starting to make strides in the right direction, right? We're starting to see a company that I work for. We currently run aero boards on top of pickup trucks when we're
Okay.
out on the one highway, and they have an effect. I mean, there's still cars. I was just working on the highway the other day, but there's still cars that you're going, what are you doing? And
Oh
trucks
yeah.
and everything else.
And
But
ever since this happened, I am terrified to drive on the highways. I don't drive on the highways. I barely drive at all. And when I am out, oh my God, it is so bad out there. I cannot believe the stuff people do.
mhm,
Weaving in and out of traffic, uncontrollable speeds,
mhm.
and I thank God I'm a passenger, because I close my eyes and I freak out because they don't understand what I do.
And it's true. It's they can hear stories, they can see videos on the internet nowadays. You can whatever, and nothing can have an effect that it would have on yourself with losing your son, right? Like there is no, you can't get through to people until it is too late, and that's the problem, right? That is the
Exactly.
fear that we have. Um, have you ever have the operate like the snowplow operator, has there ever been any communication between you guys and him, or is that
No, I was trying to find an address or something, because at first I did want to speak to him,
Mhm,
but nobody could find anything for me. And I just wanted to hear his side if he would tell it to me, but
mhm.
I never got anything.
Which again is, you don't know if it'll help or hurt, but at the same time, just not having the availability to that information, right,
Right.
is not something that's ideal. Um, so obviously, and I speak for G and myself, I think, in saying this, that what happened to Philip is a terrible tragedy that we never want to see on the roads. We never want to see on the roads. Whether we accept it as an inherent risk or not, it's unacceptable.
True.
And the when you gave that speech at the PTAO show, I could not help. I don't have children, but I am married to my beautiful wife, and I couldn't help but think of, that could be her giving that speech,
Yeah.
and that is probably what gives me goosebumps still. That thought, and that's only a fraction of what it's actually, the feeling that I get, that what it would be like being a family member of somebody involved in that. So I pass on my deepest condolences.
Thank you.
But
It does
I
destroy families. I'm telling you right now, it destroys families. My kids were all so close, and everyone was close with me, and now not so much. It's taken a toll on everybody.
I truly do believe, though, that it's people like yourself that can actually talk about this and have the conversation, as tough as I know it is, that can have more impact than me putting a flag on the side of my truck that says slow down, move over. right?
Well,
The realism.
hopefully both ways work and help.
Absolutely. I mean, anything that we can do to promote, like I said, if it can stop one incident, it's a start in the right direction. After the incident that happened out on January 17th, what was it like, the support and everything of the towing industry or the community that you received after that? Like, was it shocking to you how many, or was it,
It was.
you
It was very shocking. So Phillip's work at the time, they got, I don't know, but a bunch of tow truck drivers got together and they did a ride out in Ottawa, and I managed to make it out there. There was over 100 trucks in Ottawa, and the police shut the roads down so we could do our ride, and it was just tremendous support. It was on the news, and the newscasters were there and everything. That is on YouTube as well.
yeah, I found a couple clips, and we'll probably, if G does his job correctly, we'll be playing the drone footage of all the trucks and everything over top of while we talk about this in production.
Yeah,
But I did see it. There was a lot of trucks. Was it out by the West End, by the hockey arena? I think it looked
yeah,
like the park. Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah.
then for Philip's funeral, more tow trucks got together in Tilsonburg because we're from Delhi, and we did a ride from Tilsonburg to Delhi. And some tow trucks, the police wouldn't shut down the roads in Delhi, so some tow trucks shut it down for us for my son's
We
funeral.
we had a very similar situation happen to a funeral of an operator that we knew out in the Port Perry area,
Yeah.
where the tow trucks were starting to shut down the roads because the cops couldn't keep up with it.
Well,
And
because I've known a lot of people in Delhi, I let people know. I said this place is going to be jam packed with tow trucks. Either you guys suck it up for an hour or take it a different way, because there was
yeah,
no way we weren't shutting the roads down.
yeah, there's more important things today to remember than trying to get down the road, right?
Exactly. Well, actually, somebody tried to plow their way through a couple tow trucks, and it was not. I didn't get to see it, and I was just told about it afterwards. But yeah, they tried. A couple people tried to get through them instead of go around them.
And it didn't work too well for them, I'm guessing.
No.
No, it normally does. You don't win the fight. You don't win that fight on the road.
Yeah.
But no, and that's what's, we've seen it. That's the sad part, is we've seen it too many times, right? Like, I remember attending the funeral for a friend that we lost up in our area, and yeah, the procession was great and the funeral was amazing, and it was something to see. But again, it's like that, it takes times like that for us to get together and have these rides and these memorials and everything, and it shouldn't have to be that way. But
It seems to be the only time the actual news like the news companies say slow down and move over, is
Yeah.
when there is a funeral, which is unfortunate.
It should be all the time. It should be on the news. On the radio stations, they do the national anthem. Well, why can't they say something afterwards, like slow down, remember, slow down, move over?
yeah, the radio station for the most part is talking to the people in their cars,
Right.
right, on their morning commute. Hey, traffic update, 417 backed up in this direction. Don't forget, slow down, move over for emergency vehicles.
Right.
Right, like there is, I believe that, and you're right, where it's, that's where we talk about it. It feels like we're yelling into an echo chamber, because yes, us as operators, we will constantly say this, and we will tell everybody that we know, right? I've been driving in cars with people, and you know what I mean, it's like, hey, there's something up there, like, move over.
Yeah, I do it too.
Yeah, like, but it shouldn't be. We shouldn't have to be the only voice telling people this, because either we are the people on the side of the road, or we've been affected by having people on the side of the road, right? This needs to be drilled into people's minds, and our show is not, as much as we say that, isn't exactly pushing out to the masses, right? Like, the people that listen to us are tow truck operators.
Right.
So for anyone listening, that is what it's about, is that you need to take it upon yourself to notify the people out there, like, to get the message out and to work, whether it be with local radio stations, before it's too late, before they're showing it on the 6 o'clock news because of a tragic accident.
Exactly.
I imagine, like,
I agree 100%.
before Phillip's accident, were you well aware of the slow down, move over even before that time? I'm guessing as soon as he got into the industry as a parent, you would.
More like I knew about it, but not that I didn't pay attention. I just didn't know so much about it. But yeah, the minute Bill got in that tow truck, every day I talk to him, it's like, remember, slow down, move over, even for your, you know, ambulances and fire trucks and stuff like that. And, always, please be safe. Always. I say it to my other kids too. They drive too, so.
I truly believe as part of the driving test that they have to do, they should be required to stand on the shoulder of a highway outside of a vehicle.
Yeah.
And I really think, I don't know how many times, like the people that are really starting to catch on to the slow down, move over of the general public are people who are broken down on busy highways.
Yeah.
It's scary.
And they sit there and their car shakes every time a transport goes by that didn't move over. And you go, yeah, that's why you move over.
Exactly.
Right. But like part of their, when they go for their license in Ontario, where you need to take your G2 or your G, whatever it is that you got to do the highway off and on, they should pull over on the side of the highway and make them stand on the white line.
Yeah.
And watch a couple cars go by and then go, this is why you need to move over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like we can yell it at the top of our lungs. We can run ads. We can do everything. But until it affects people, the general public.
Like even people that pull over to talk on their phone. Thank God they're pulling over to talk on their phone, but yeah, you can feel your vehicle shake. I know you can.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely, there's got to be something changed and something else has to be done. Because, the more people understanding how important this is, the better off people are going to be. And there's not going to be so many sad families out there. Because it does. It just tears families apart.
Has there been any talk, Trina, down with the down in Tennessee at the Wall of the Fallen or anything? I know they just recently held their ceremony. Yes.
Phillip is on that wall.
Okay.
Not this year, last year.
Last year's, well, yeah, because it would have been this time last year. They would have done the ceremony, and it would have been long enough after to prep and everything for that. Did you guys happen to make the trip down to Tennessee for that, or?
I didn't. I don't even have a passport. I don't travel out of Canada, so
that's fair.
Yeah, I if I would have had a little more notice, I might have been able to get a passport. But honestly, I've never been out of Canada.
That's fair. Hey, Tennessee's a long way.
It is, and I have family out in Georgia and stuff. But I actually have a cousin that's a judge out in Georgia. So. Yeah.
That's where our producer lives.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's where our producer Sarah, who's not here with us today, whatever, she lives out in Georgia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
but somebody did go there in honor of Phillip, and he brought me the plaque and everything. But one day I will get out there. Mm-hmm. It just I still have to deal with everything here first.
No, absolutely. And like I said, it's a year and 10 months. It's still fresh in the scale of what the tragedy was, right? Like it's not something that's been 20 years ago that we can kind of sit and reflect back on it. It's still fresh, and I imagine it'll stay fresh for, like I said, a long time.
Oh yeah, it will. And even October 9th, that's coming up, and that's Philip's birthday, and that's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it's very hard.
Well, I definitely hope that as the cliche or that they said that you mentioned earlier, that time heals all wounds, that hopefully it does, and it just takes longer on this one than letting it, fester over years and everything else. And I encourage you to, any opportunity you get, I know, and I can only imagine it's tough, but to keep telling your story, because they don't realize it till it affects them.
Do you have a copy of that speech?
Yes, we do.
Yep.
I can have that too.
Yeah, you guys can put it on if you want.
Perfect. We were actually hoping to include it at the end of this, because we're going to do some editing afterwards and have it at the end of the episode. At the end or the beginning, I can't remember what we spoke about. Just so again, the impact that it gives. We watched it about 10 minutes before having you on, and first thing I thought when I put it on, I'm like, yeah, I can do this. And then I put it on and I went, why am I watching this? But you have to do it. You
You
have
should
to
have
do
saw how terrified I was up there. I was like, you guys know, you were there. I was shaking,
Yeah.
and
well.
obviously I was crying. And
I mean, if you're not a public speaker to start with, and
no,
I don't know how public speaking you've done, and then you got to stand up in a room full of it and then tell that story.
yeah,
It's
and I hate making people depressed too. You know,
trust me,
but
you don't have to be mad about making anybody in that room sad. We we feel we feel bad enough for you. I'm not worried about us. I'm not
I'm
worried
just
about
that
us.
type of person. You know.
Well, like I said, Phillip obviously came by it honestly.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to say, or anything that we want to cover, maybe that we missed in kind of this conversation on whether it be, you know, Phillip, the person that he was, or the industry, or any of those things? Is there anything that we kind of missed on that you'd like to kind of mention?
Well, first of all, I want to tell everybody, please drive, be safe. You know, go home to your families. They need this just as much as you guys do. And, you know, just I pray to God that the word really gets out there. And that I love my son and I miss him a lot.
I think everyone can kind of feel how touching that can be, and how hard that can be.
Yeah.
So, Trina, I honestly, I don't have words for how much I appreciate you taking the time today to talk to us about this, and I hope that we can help push this message, and not only the message, but, you know, like I said, push the type of person that Phillip was, and, you know, hopefully we can one day stop this from ever happening again.
I hope so.
So
I pray every night about this, you know. There's gotta be a way to save these people. They're out there doing their job trying to save us.
yeah. All right,
Sorry,
Trina, I will reach.
I'm a very emotional person, so
No, you have every right in the world to be.
Yeah.
You have every right in the world to be. So on that note, we're gonna let you go for now. I'll reach out in the next couple days once we kind of get everything put together, so where you can, you know, if you so desire to come back and watch the show.
I will.
I don't watch the show, to be honest. I have too much fun making it that I can't go back and relive it again. So yeah, we'll reach out in the next couple of days and that, but I absolutely appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll continue to kind of push the message forward and go from
Thanks,
there.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Trina.
you.
Take care.
Take care.
Whew.
I'm sorry I couldn't be more helpful on that. It's just,
I know it's the reality of our industry.
yeah.
It's the absolute reality of our industry, and as hard as it is to hear that kind of stuff, it needs to be said.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be said. This woman is, you know, a year and 10 months later still grieving, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
Grieving the loss of her son. No parent should have to, you know, bury their children.
No.
And the fact that it has to happen because of, and I don't want to put any blame on anybody, on the driver. You know, again, she doesn't have the full report on what happened, or never been able to speak to the driver, but the fact that an operator didn't get to go home to his family, that a mother had to bury her child because of the towing industry,
Mm-hmm.
is, I don't think, something that is supposed to be easy for us to talk about, or something that is supposed to be easier for our listeners to hear about. Because at the end of the day, it's
not
our
a
fear.
nice subject to talk about, but it needs to be said, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry.
It's as much as like Philip's birthday, the day that you're listening to this, was yesterday, the 9th of October. And he's one of many operators that don't get to see another birthday. It's not just Philip. For this episode, yes, we are mourning Philip. But how many operators get killed on the side of the road every year? How many more Tarina stories is out there for other mothers of fallen operators? I know we can only do so much, and we care to try to help get this story out there and try to make some positive light come out of a terrible situation. And that's where we need our listeners to help us with that. It's okay for you just to listen to this, and I hope you take at least a minute or two of silence, and I'm planning on doing that at the end of this video. But do something in your community. Be that change. Like you were saying earlier, contact your local radio station. Try to get that message out there, not just in our echo chamber. And that's something that we really have to drive home. Is it's all fine and dandy to tell this to your friends and family, but I'm sure you've probably already told it to them. Tell it, figure out a way to get it to as many people as you can, because it's a message that needs to be out there. So another operator like Philip gets to have another birthday.
The reality is what happened to Philip isn't our worst nightmare. It is something that we realize is a possibility every day, but we put in the back of our minds.
Yeah.
We can't keep that at the forefront of our minds. If you keep that at the forefront of your mind, this industry will eat you up and spit you out. But at the same time, you can never forget the risks that are involved and the ultimate price that can be paid, whether it be the fault of the public, whether it be a tragic accident.
Yeah.
There is no, it's not going to matter at the end of the day why. It's going to matter what happened. And so, I encourage anyone listening who's made it this far through the episode to, like I said, don't be afraid to every once in a while take a moment, reflect on this. Because although you cannot keep it at the forefront, you need to remind yourself. Because if you're not reminding yourself of the inherent risks of this industry, and, you're bound, you can make mistakes. You can, get sloppy. I'm not saying that's what happened in this scenario, but it's possible, right? How many times do we cut corners?
Complacency kills. It does. And one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about and ask this question to you is occasionally you'll see on the billboards on the highways, slow down, move over for emergency vehicles. They don't always specifically say tow trucks. Is that something that should be done in your eyes? Would that make it slightly better so people say slow down for emergency vehicles and tow trucks? Because we don't classify ourselves as first responders, nor are we emergency vehicles just driving down the road. But I know we're classed as emergency vehicles when we're on the side of the road with our lights on doing a job. The public doesn't know that. So there needs to be some sort of distinction, I think.
No. And the only reason I say that is pull over for anything on the side of the road. Why does it have to be classified as something? You should be pulling over for a car with its four ways on.
Yeah.
Because they're discombobulated because they've never broken down before.
Yeah.
And they're wandering around and they're not aware of their space, of the space around them and everything. It's common sense. Right? I stand by what I said about standing them on the goddamn side of the highway and letting them have a couple cars zing them. And I bet you'll have more effect by something like that than you will by any slow down, move over campaign we can run. Yeah. Because until it's close to them or until they see it, right? The people talked about the TV show did good work in helping with the slow down move over in those tight places and all those clips that they showed and guys got clipped and whatnot. Absolutely. But that's moved on and forgotten. You come within inches of a tractor trailer at 100 kilometers an hour. That doesn't go away with the next season of a TV show.
Yeah.
That doesn't just, we put it into the back of our minds because we have to.
Mm-hmm.
But the general public who is going to experience that, ask somebody if they've ever broken down on the side of a highway. And I bet you they'll be able to tell you that story. And they'll remember that story.
Yeah.
Right? Because why? Because it was something that stuck out and it was something that was, whether it be scary, whether it be whatever.
Yeah.
Stand them out on the side of the highway and I bet you they'll remember what it feels like for, every time they come up on a car and go, whoo, I remember that time that somebody almost, zinged by me on the side of the highway. I'm going to move over.
Yeah.
Right? We've got to do something because I do not want to have to hear more stories from Trina about Phillip, from James Brush.
Yeah.
If you remember back to an old episode, those stories, as much as they need to be told, we don't want to tell them. We don't want them to be out there. We do not want them to just be, another one. And the route that we're going is with the quality of drivers out on the road. We're moving more towards another one than solving the problem.
Yeah.
So you can take your, we can keep doing these, we constantly have the slow down move overs on all of our videos, right? We can constantly do that, but unless there's got to be a major overhaul because this isn't just here. This is all across North America. This isn't just Ontario. This isn't just Canada.
Yeah.
This is all North America. This is on a grand scale, and laws are only written, unfortunately, in blood.
Mm-hmm.
And has there not been enough blood at this point?
Oh.
At what point is it enough blood to make invoke real change?
Yeah. And with that being said, I hope you, the listener, can go out and do your damnedest to invoke real change. After this, after we say goodbye, we are going to play the speech from the 2023 PTO Tow Show, followed by 2 minutes of silence, and then the outro. Just because, for me, that moment of silence, surrounded by all those people, is what really drove it home to me. Because in our modern day of scrolling, you get invested in one thing for 30 seconds and then you're on to the next. Take some time and have a reflection and try to figure out what we can do as individuals to make this better. So with that being said, thank you for watching. I am TowManG, co-host PlainGuy. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Toodles.
We appreciate everybody's attendance here today. As you know, the Professional Towing Association of Ontario, you might notice that we changed our name but kept the acronym. Our new motto is to engage, evolve, and elevate, and it's very evident by the involvement of everything today in our first inaugural annual memorial procession for Slow Down and Move Over that everybody's heart is in this industry, and the turnout has been amazing. The showmanship and the trucks and the dedication to the industry is just beyond belief. The purpose of this memorial procession is slow down, move over. We need everybody to understand, the industry understands the risks on the road. As we grow this annual procession, we want to bring more public awareness to the needs of the towers on the side of the road for safety so that they can all come home to their families at night. We have a very special guest today that is going to talk about a tragedy that happened with the towing industry. And at the end of that, we're going to go outside and do 2 minutes of silence with everybody's lights on to reflect the need and the observance of these losses, unnecessary losses of life. So I'd like to introduce Rosemary to do a quick introduction.
Hello, it was great. We did the procession this morning and it was beautiful to see all the trucks out. So Trina kind of became part of our family. Her son Phil used to come and hang out at our shop, and it's so emotional, so sorry. And he would come with his little son and they would hang out at the shop and tinker around, and so he started fiddling around with the tow trucks with Mike, and just kind of came, he was just there, so Mike offered him a chance to jump in a tow truck and help out at the Tillsonburg Fair. And from there, I guess it just went in his blood like the rest of us that are here today. He moved on and started working for another company in Oxford County, and then moved on to Ottawa, where a tragedy happened and took his life. But she is family, so between the two of us, we're going to try and be able to give a little more insight on how it affected the family and people close to her and Phil. So on our truck out there, if you look at the back, on the back headrest, if people wonder who Phil is or was, we do have a big Coroplast sign on the back of our truck with pictures of Phil and his family and his son that he was very close to in that. So I'm going to pass it over to Trina now, and I'm glad to be part of this, and it was nice to see the show. Let's slow down and move over, and so we all can go home at night.
This is really hard, guys. The day I lost my son Philip was the hardest day of my life. When the police arrived at my door, I was in shock and disbelief. My son Philip was gone. Philip was known to be a wonderful person with an infectious smile and willingness to help others no matter what the situation. Philip loved his job and knew the risk involved. Unfortunately, a snowplow driver did not follow protocol, did not slow down and move over, and because of this, we lost my son. Losing Philip has affected my entire family, not just me as his mother, but his brothers and his sister and his children. Philip was the bond that held us together. With his wit and his rude sense of humor, now we are lost without him. We are angry and sad and so emotional. We are not close like we used to be. We are hurt and left wondering the what ifs. Philip's children miss him dearly and only get to know him in pictures and memories that we share with them. It is not fair to our family. This should have never happened. Philip had so much life to live. The Slow Down Move Over Act is one which we need more to enforce, and more importantly, followed by all drivers of the road. My heart is destroyed, and I will never be the same. I miss my son Philip every minute of every day. I will never be the same person I was when he was alive. God, please don't let this happen to anyone else.
I'm choked up. So in honor of Phil and all the other towers that have been injured or killed in the line of duty, let's go outside for 2 minutes, bow our heads, and pray. Thank you.